The UK is doing the opposite of incentivizing.
If you ask any European what's your dream, it'd be like to move to Dubai.
Most people are not exposed to multi-millionaires on a daily basis in the UK, but in Thailand or Bali or Dubai, you can meet free at lunch, or free at dinner.
I can do it. If I want to do that, I can do it. I guess I could do that. It's just a very good thing to have. Start from the end point. Like, what's your dream? What's your goal? And then work back, reverse engineer what you actually need to study and learn.
You have to give yourself like 20% chance of luck. And the luck comes with actually going out and meeting.
It's obviously our parents had a very clear idea of how you got successful, and that was, go to university and climb the corporate ladder, right? And at the time, it probably was.
If you want to become an investment bank, you likely have an easier route towards it than 20, 30 years ago.
If you make $500,000 and you pay 50% in tax, that's $250K. Yeah. Just re-rating will literally double your income.
Welcome guys back to the 1% podcast, hosted by myself and Brandon once again with a very special guest, Leo. Today we're talking about the UK, the downfall of Western society and why entrepreneurs are moving to places like Thailand, Bali, Dubai and elsewhere in the world. So, welcome guys. Leo, how's it going?
Going great. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Give us a background of yourself.
Right, so my name is Leo. I'm half Italian, half British Indian, and run an online business, and I help online entrepreneurs legally reduce their taxes. The idea is that there's loads of people now in their late teens, early 20s who are very young, very ambitious, very good at what they do. They're making loads of money, but they have no idea how taxes work, right? So they're either still paying 40, 50% tax back to, the UK or Australia or whatever, or they're completely tax evading, right? Either of which is not great. So help them sort that out and set the foundations for, for the empire, if you may, for building their empire.
Perfect. And we're going to run through that. I think Brandon has some questions for us to get started.
Yeah, so where are the majority of your clients actually based?
So majority of my clients are Europeans and Australians. That includes the UK as well. But now most of them have relocated either to Southeast Asia, the UAE, or somewhere in the Caribbean.
Yeah. So I was just looking earlier. In 2025, the UK are predicted to lose 16,500 millionaires, which is actually number one in the world, more than Russia and China. So, why do you think that is?
Well, I think now with online business, everyone in their 20s wants to start one of these. Like, you see everyone in their 20s right now that they either want to quit their job if they have a job. If they're unemployed, they don't want to find a job, right? Or they're self-employed. No one wants to work a job at the moment. And there's this beautiful thing called, lifestyle arbitrage, where you can earn in pounds and dollars and euros and spend them in, Thai baht or Indonesian rupiahs, so that, you can earn in a very strong currency and you can spend in a very weak one, right? So there's this arbitrage right now where, why would you want to stay and work in an office in a place where, you're constrained when you can move around and live wherever you like and, make your money work better and have higher purchasing power. I think that's the main reason.
Yeah, it just kind of worries me that like a place that used to be like a superpower of the world is just losing a lot of its wealth. Like, a lot of money is leaving the UK and there's not that much coming back into it. So obviously, being someone from the UK, it's nice to actually go out and do these things and live this life, but it is also actually worrying, seeing the future of how the country could be.
I completely agree, and I think it's quite a complicated one, because I believe, and maybe this is a limiting belief, but this is how I feel. There's only so much you can do as an individual. There's a lot of people who may go on protests or just go on the streets, but for me, the only way you can actually change something is through entrepreneurship, right? You get enough money, get enough power to then make a change, but before, you need to think about yourself. And obviously, when it comes to the young people, what you're talking about is millionaires. Obviously, some of us are not there yet. Most of the people who leave the UK is who actually go and go after that status, right, and after that power. So it's interesting because there's both these people, right? There's, on the one side, there's the young people who are ambitious and who want to make the money and want to get the status and the power. And then there's the people who have already got it and are still deciding to leave. So that's, there's two fronts that we need to look at it. But I think, as young entrepreneurs ourselves, if you're watching this and, you're a young entrepreneur, you want to get into entrepreneurship, I think the first thing you need to do is take care about yourself. As crude and as raw as that may sound, that's what I believe.
Yeah, with myself as an entrepreneur, it's a no-brainer. Why would you want to live in a country that doesn't really have your back, and they have a outrageous number of tax that comes out a month, especially if you're rich, especially if you're a multi-millionaire making millions a month. Why would you want to pay tax to that country with how they're actually treating their people?
Yeah, I think that the UK as a whole, ambition is kind of treated like arrogance. So where people have dreams, they kind of shrinking them instead of expanding on them. Whereas you come to a place like Thailand where ambition is kind of celebrated and monetary gain is celebrated. It's not frowned upon. So I feel like that's the general consensus in the UK, is very limiting beliefs there.
And that's so interesting, Jake, because back in the days, obviously our parents had a very clear idea of how you got successful, and that was, go to university and climb the corporate ladder, right? And at the time it probably was.
Yeah.
Right now, I worked in a corporate environment. I worked at one of the big four accounting firms, huge company, almost 500,000 employees, almost 50 billion in revenue worldwide, right? Huge corporations. And I worked there, and you could see that the people my age, the graduates, they had no ambition. Right, they just wanted to get out of the office at 5:30, and go for beers, go for a pint. That's all they wanted to do. And it was crazy. You had people. I was working in taxation, right? You had people that were there with history degrees, stuff that made no sense. They were just happy to be there because the mum was happy that they had a job in this big firm and stuff. But they didn't actually want to be there. They wanted to leave. They had no interest. And I've seen the people with ambition now are the ones that say, hey, actually opportunity is somewhere else. There's this space, the info space, there's crypto. I mean, there's loads of stuff you can do online, right? And they say, I want to move and I want to get this started. In fact, I would argue if you actually want to climb the corporate ladder, it's never been easier because the competition is not there.
Yeah.
So all the ambitious people now are doing something else.
Yeah, certainly. With the online space, everyone's trying to be different, and with social media as well, it seems a lot more possible to go out and do your own thing and move to a place like Thailand. It seems a lot more achievable and attainable. So I guess climbing the corporate ladder, is probably at its competitive low right now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the European dream kind of no longer exists. If you ask any European what's your dream, it'd be to move to Dubai. That there is no European dream anymore. It's either you stay there and you work a 9 to 5, or you just get out.
Yeah. I mean, the UK specifically, I cannot really attest to any positive nature. It's the weather's poor, the people are moody. I think it's the most depressed country in the world, or top 3.
Yeah, it's number 2.
Number two. So most millionaires leaving the country. What reason is there to actually stay in the UK? Genuinely, what reason?
When did you leave the UK, Jake?
Around 2 years ago now.
2 years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years.
How have you found it?
I have never looked back. I haven't been to the UK for 2 years, which means I haven't seen a lot of my family for 2 years, which is kind of a lonely road, but there's just no reason for me to go back there. I'm kind of out of the tax bracket now, so I believe I don't have to pay taxes at the moment. Don't come for me if I do. But I just don't see any reason to go back there. And actually, I'm kind of, it sounds a bit dramatic, but fearful in a way. I fear for my family being there. There's a lot of horror stories. So being in a place like Thailand where I feel incredibly safe, there's no real reason to go back, to be honest. Yeah. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, Thailand has been probably the best move I've ever made. I just came here, just leveled up pretty much everything in my life, skill sets, confidence, and I've never looked back. I don't think I'll ever go back to the UK for more than a few days at a time.
Yeah. What about you, Leo? When was the last time you went back there?
Actually, pretty recently. So I also have family. Have my girlfriend is back in the UK. Not an easy one, definitely. Have her there and me in Thailand. Moving around. But obviously, I have a mission. I have a purpose. And,
of course.
That's the most important thing. But I do go back every now and then. Not often. I'd rather go to Italy really when I come back to Europe. For living, I probably won't be living in the UK. And again, this actually leads us onto a very interesting topic, because one thing is, when you're out for in the pursuit of greatness and financial gain and all this stuff, and then you're a bit more free to move around. But then when you grow up, like, depending on the relationship you have, like, with your family, with the country you've grown up, like, I'm sure for example, if the UK was in a better state, you probably wouldn't mind, like, raising your family there and going back there at that point, which, for me now, looking at my future, obviously there's still a while to go before I to start a family and anything, but it's probably going to be in Europe for myself. Probably going to be in Italy. That's where I grew up. That's what my culture is. I probably want to be there. I don't think I'd feel comfortable raising my family in Thailand, which obviously is very different from you, because obviously
I have a young daughter. But I was thinking about this earlier, actually. So I was thinking, like, is there any way that I could raise my children in the UK? And I just can't envision it. I'm even fearful for my siblings that are there at the moment. I have a teenage sister, I have like a young adult brother, I have another like young brother, and I fear for their lives, genuinely fear for their lives, because of experiences that we've had in the UK compared to places like this in Thailand. So I actually thought about, like, Italy would probably be the perfect place on the coast somewhere, would be perfect, I think, to raise a family.
They have this I was going off on a tax tangent. They have this flat lump sum tax that's attracting loads of millionaires and billionaires. Actually, Milan, I think, is now the third city for billionaires in Europe, I think, because they've got this flat lump sum tax of 200k. So you can live there, pay 200k of tax a year, and that's it, regardless of how much you earn, right? So obviously, if you're making 300k, it's not worth it, right? But if you're making 20 million a year, 200k is quite good, because you're paying 1%, for your whole income. So that's
cool.
That's also, speaking of the UK, like, how in politics you can change the policies to, like, attract wealth and entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, that's what builds the wealth of a country, right? Having entrepreneurs in your country, and making those moves that, even from a political standpoint, like, actually, if we lower the taxes, if we give this incentive, we can attract a lot more money and grow our country, which is what the UK isn't doing.
Well, the UK is doing the opposite of incentivizing, because I think now they imposed a 25% tax on property if you leave the UK. If you threaten to leave the UK, your property is going to incur an additional 25% tax as soon as you leave. Like, you have to pay that, which is crazy. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard of this. You might have to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty certain of it. Pretty sure.
Let me ask you this. So obviously you started this community, right? This private network of online entrepreneurs. Where are most of the members based, and do you think they share the same vision that you have on the UK?
Yeah, so most of us are coming from the UK. I think that's because I'm from the UK, Jake's from the UK, and I think it's a lot more easier for people to relate and also build trust when there's people from the same place. Where a lot of people we get from other countries, they want to know more over time. But I think a lot of people are coming from the UK purely because it's finished. I've known it's been finished for 5 years. And I was saying it was finished in 2020, and people were like, "What are you talking about?" And then now everyone's saying it's finished, and there's protest. And I think the main reason is for immigration. That's not a racist thing to say.
No, it's
anyone
true.
anyone that thinks it's racist needs to get their head.
You're getting us cancelled again.
But all of us are in Thailand, right? And all of us are immigrants to Thailand. And how hard was it to actually get a visa in Thailand? You have to pay $1,000 for a DTV visa, prove you've got 12 grand in a bank, you have to prove all your pay slips, you have to prove you're a valuable person.
Yeah.
Why is it different for the UK?
Very controversial topic, but it's true, and anyone can come out and say otherwise, but it's absolutely true. The policies for Thailand are very, very strict, and they're very favourable for their citizens as well. You can't just come here and start a business, it must be Thai owned, 51%. So they are protecting their citizens, whereas you go to the UK, anyone can start a business, pretty much anyone can go and live there, house there. They're not protective of like veterans over asylum seekers and stuff like this. But yeah, I don't know why. It's the powers that be, I'm afraid.
You know, when it comes to immigration, obviously we live in Thailand, and to some extent, I think that's the main cause. But I also, I am also very cautious when taking stances on the argument, because you know, it's full of fake news, right? In a good sense and in a bad sense, right? It's and I think that the truth is always somewhere in the middle. When it comes to, you know, everything, immigration, politics, business, everything. And what's very sad, I believe, is that right now it's even hard to actually find truth. You don't know who to trust, right? Do you trust, obviously in UK theme, the BBC? You know, probably not. Right? Do you trust the reporter on Twitter, right, who's posting his own stuff? Again, it depends. Like, you need to trust him. So I myself, I'm in a situation where, and it's very sad, but I don't know what source to find my information from. And for that reason, I don't feel like my opinions on this matter are quite strong. Like, I see it. I do not want to take a stance saying, yes, this is what's happening, because of course you hear it. You hear one side, you hear the other. I don't know. I don't know what information is true, right? I don't know what the truth is, which again, it's very sad, right, that you can't do it. But again, mainstream media has lost its credibility right now. You can't trust them. So then who do you trust?
That's right. It's a great point, actually, Leo. I think we're definitely pro-immigration. We emigrated to Thailand and we reside in Thailand. So we have to be pro-immigration, but when it's done legally. Like, if you're just coming to a country in Europe on a boat, which does happen, let's not be like silly, it does definitely happen. And we've seen it living in the UK, we've seen the streets. When it's done illegally is wrong. Like, there should be strict procedures in place like we have in Thailand for something like immigration.
No, I completely agree with that.
But it's hard to, like you say, know who to trust on sources, because you can just go to one area, you know, plant people and say, oh yeah, look, the immigrants just come on a boat. It's not, everything is true. You know, it's just how it is. I
was back in London. I'm staying in Fulham, so you know that's.
Oh yeah, Fulham. It's like the highest end place.
It's not super high end. I'm just joking, but of course I assume you're not going to see a lot of illegal immigrants over there.
Fulham, yeah,
that's for sure.
It's true, yeah. I think you kind of have to go like towards the outskirts a bit, but certainly, I mean, I actually have lived in a couple of rough places in London, like E14 and Hackney and places like this. So I've seen the streets a little bit rough. Haven't lived in Fulham. I would have loved to have lived in Fulham, but yeah.
And speaking of London, let's stay in London theme. What would you say the business outlook is for London? Because obviously there's this big contrast, right? There's online entrepreneurship and the info space, and obviously there's a lot of money to be made, right? The industry is growing massively, you know, it's helping me, but obviously there's still a lot of money to be made in traditional, you know, investment banking, and you know, London is a big hub, probably the biggest one after New York, right? So what do you think about business opportunity like in England and London particularly? Obviously we touched upon the fact that right now it's never been easier to climb the corporate ladder. So, you know, if you want to be an investment banker, that's probably a route to make your millions, right? Do you think there's space for entrepreneurship if you wanted to stay in England?
What do you think, Brandon? My view might be outdated because I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of out of touch in the whole like corporate and like traditional entrepreneurship, because I've been in like crypto since I was 19, I believe we were 19.
Yeah.
And that is what you call like a matrix, like glitch industry. I think it's up there with like starting your own offer, OFM, and like these kind of industries where you can just like come in with a small amount of money and you can completely change your life. So I feel like I'm so out of depth with like traditional business models and like the whole like corporate like sphere that I don't really know what it's like, to be honest.
To touch on what you're saying, Leo, I do believe that the competition for corporate advantage is at an all-time low. So look at social media and like teenagers and young adults this age. just brain rotting, scrolling all day. Like the attention span is just decreasing monumentally. So I believe that if you want to become an investment banker, you likely have an easier route towards it than 20, 30 years ago. Again, I don't have any source to verify this, but that's what I would say from an outside perspective. I don't know though. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, maybe I am a bit more in date because let's say I came to Thailand just over a year ago now, and a year and 3 months ago I was in that corporate job. And obviously, you know, we can get into it if you like, but obviously I did learn some things, you know, and right now I deal with taxation, I deal with accounting, I deal with, you know, companies and all this stuff, and working in that job actually helped me. Right. But I knew why I was there. You know, I was there because it was needed for me to learn the skills that I now apply in my day-to-day job. Obviously, a lot of people like to hate on college and on university, and I think, you know, most people probably shouldn't go to university. For me, I'm glad I went. Right, I studied accounting and finance. I use that. I use that in my day-to-day. Right, so I think there is still a space for university, for corporate jobs, but you need to know what you're doing there. If you're just there because, you know, your mum's happy, or because, you know, your granddad told you so, like, you shouldn't be there at all. Like, if you don't actually have an interest, don't do that. Like, go and start your own offer. If you actually want to travel and, you know, chase your dream, just go and do it. There's no need for you to be there. But if you actually want to do, you know, some more complex stuff like you know, law, medicine, even, like, you need to study, and that's okay. But I think you need to be very intentional with what you choose to do. See, time is very limited, right? Life is super short. You need to be very intentional with what you do and start from the end point. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I'll do this course because then, you know, if I want to do this, I can do it. If I want to do that, I can do it. I guess I could do that. It's just a very good thing to have. Like, no, start from the end point. Like, what's your dream? What's your goal? And then work back, reverse engineer what you actually need to study and learn. And maybe you do need a degree, but maybe you don't. Right.
I think you're a perfect example of actually putting your degree to good use, because most people don't. Most degrees are very random and don't have any particular use in most people's lives down the line. But I think you've done it perfectly. I think the point that you're at now and the time that you've done it, incredible, very intentional, like you say. And you've basically mastered exactly what you've just said, and it's very commendable.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So, Leo, what do you think changes when you go from paying 40 to 50% taxes to paying 0% taxes?
That's a great question. I think when you go from 50% tax to zero or close to zero, you're literally doubling your income. Like, a lot of people who are listening to this and watching this don't realize that. But if you make $500,000 and you pay 50% in tax, that's 250K. Like, just relocating will literally double your income. And then what does it do for you? Well, it depends. How do you spend your money? Right? Obviously, and that's just the same way as the same question would be, what happens if you double your income? You've got more money, and then you can use it to do whatever you want. Maybe you can reinvest in your business, you can treat your family, you can buy a nice watch, a nice car. Like, it all depends, but it definitely gives you the freedom. I know you were talking about, you know, you feel like your family is not safe, and your younger siblings are not safe. It's not just a tax, it's about being in control of a government that, you know, if you don't trust, they might change the rules from you know, from one day to the other. Because, like, right now the laws are like this, but what if they change? Right? It's not just the taxes, it's also like the laws. I know now, and again, I don't know what news is true and what it's not, but I read that people have been arrested for tweets. Right? Has that actually happened?
That's actually happened.
So what would you want to live in there? Right? Yes, it's the taxes, but it's also the whole, like, legislation. So that's what happens. Definitely a lot more freedom and a lot more peace of mind.
Certainly. I actually had another question for you. So you've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. How important do you think it is to save your money?
That's another great question. I think there's always a space for saving money, but it's more to build a habit, right? if you're making 1,000 a month, 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, like saving isn't really going to help you, right? It's learn before you earn, right? It's invest in the mentorships, invest in, you know, the book, invest in the experiment within your business, right? Try and hire someone. Maybe it doesn't work out. Like that's still an investment. Like you're building your person. That's the main thing. Like you're supposed to build your own character and your own person. You know, through food, even like invest in a good mattress, like in an Aura ring, like all this stuff. Invest in yourself first. But there's always a space for saving. In fact, I don't agree with reinvesting every single penny. I think you still should build a habit of putting aside a certain amount of income. That's maybe traditional advice. Maybe I'm being very conservative, maybe a bit too conservative for my age, but it's more about building the habit. Because if you can't save $500 when you're making 10K, you're not going to be able to save 50K when you're making 10 million. Right. So I think there's a space for it.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think, Brandon, you normally say that it's pointless saving money, right? You should always focus on earning first.
Yeah. Well, like it kind of like depends how much money you're making. Like, obviously, like I mentor some people in like crypto, and they're never really able to build their wallets up to like large amounts to actually go full time, because every time they hit a successful trade, they're withdrawing the money and they're booking flights to like Spain. So I feel like you need to get yourself to a point where you're actually earning a lot of money, like until you can actually start saving and investing in like Bitcoin, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, to reiterate, it's about building the habit, because you're going to need it afterwards, right? If you find yourself just reinvesting and spending all the time, like even when you make more money, you're not going to have the habit and, you know, the discipline muscle of saying, okay, this thing we don't touch. Because, you know, to an extreme, this is what, you know, I consider financial freedom, right? Is having your investments pay for your lifestyle passively, right? So, for example, if you have 10 million in the bank and you invest them at a very low risk of 5%, right? That's what, 500K. You can live off 500K a year very easily, and that's completely passive, right? In fact, you don't even need 10 million, or even with 1 million, right? 5% is 50K. Obviously, you might not be able to live with 50K, but you know, you have a pretty solid life. Let's say maybe 2 million is 100K, right? So if you just have 100K completely passively, then you're free. Like that's your financial freedom goal. And again, you can reverse engineer it from the top. How much money do you need to live passively in a year? If it's 50K, then your financial freedom target is $1 million. If it's 100K, your financial freedom target is 2 million. Right. And again, you need to build the income first. Of course, you need to build the large amounts, but you need to build a habit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going from 40 to 50% tax brackets to zero kind of shifts your mentality from survival mindset to like thriving mindset, because you save so much money, and most people don't realize it because they're stuck in the ways of actually having to pay 40% taxes every year, that it's just normal. But when you come to a place like Thailand, like you say, if someone's making like £10,000 a month and they're giving away 4,000, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money just to give to the government that doesn't particularly care about you. So when you come to a place like Thailand and you work with someone like Leo, who can in some ways get you to pay 0% taxes, and you're living in a phenomenal place like Thailand, it's a no-brainer really. But what would you say to people who are in the UK, for example, that have a physical business and they need to be set up in the UK? Can they still avoid taxes legally? Can they still pay 0%, or is it impossible?
No, you can't.
No.
You also need to be smart with this, because I know maybe some tax office, HMRC might be watching this. You know, I
don't know. Let's just be careful what we're saying. I don't know.
But obviously, if you're a tax resident in a country, you need to pay taxes in that country.
Yeah.
If you've got a brick and mortar business, you're gonna have to pay taxes in that country. Like there's
no way around that.
There's no way around it,
Okay.
right? Like if you live in the UK, you've got a physical business. Now, you don't even need to have a physical business. If you live in the UK and there's someone advertising 0% tax, like that doesn't work. Like the way, and we glorify 0%, right? I don't like throwing around that word anymore. It's more like marketing right now. Like even in Thailand, I do pay some taxes, but it's like it's so insignificant compared to what you earn that it might as well be zero. But yeah, just to answer your question, like, no, you can't. And then it depends. It goes back to what life do you want to live? Are you happy with the brick and mortar business?
Yeah.
Obviously, it ties you to the UK, to whatever country that business is in. If you're happy with it, cool.
Yeah.
If you're not, then, get into crypto or into info, right? Or appointment setting.
Okay. And out of curiosity then, so someone who has kind of like a hybrid business, they have products stored in the UK, but they're shipping out to other countries, they still cannot avoid that tax?
Well, look, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I won't go into detail, but there's
I guess we could be here
loads
for
of
hours.
taxes, right? There's income tax is what you have to pay personally on your income.
Yeah.
Corporation tax is what your company has to pay on its income, right?
Yeah.
You've got VAT, which is what you or your company have to pay when you import or export goods, right? VAT is also on sales, right? So
Yeah.
for example, if you go out to a restaurant, even now in Thailand has a 7% VAT rate, right?
Yeah.
That's just tax that goes to the Thai government. The restaurant doesn't get any. For example, in the UK, that's still 20% instead
Yeah.
of 7, right? So there's loads of taxes, and there's there's ways you can reduce your taxes legally, even within the UK, but you need to leverage UK's rules.
Yeah.
You cannot just set up a company in Dubai and do business in the UK.
So what would you say to someone who is a young entrepreneur running an online business in the UK, but they have no understanding of taxes? Like they don't know how to even file their own taxes. They don't know if it comes out automatically. They just don't know what to do. They're just hoping the tax man doesn't come to their door. What would you say to these people? I know it's a loaded question.
No, that's fine. That's a great question. First off, think about where you want to live and what you want to do. Do you want to travel or do you want to settle down? Right? If you're happy in the UK, that's when maybe hire a UK accountant and try and sort that out that way. If you want to travel, if you don't want to be outside of the UK, if you don't want to be inside of the UK, and that's, generalizing less than 90 days in the UK, if you're happy spending that, then the world is your oyster. Like, what are the countries that you plan on spending the most time in? Where can I set up a bank account? Where can I set up a company and stuff? And that's probably going to be a lot more beneficial for tax purposes as well. But one thing I would say, to answer your question, is do not ignore it. Like, I know, as tempting as it may be to just ignore this and avoid the confrontation, like, you either pay a small price now to learn about this and set up your taxes correctly, or you pay a much bigger price later. Because like, when you make a lot of money, that's when they want to come after you, and wants to run you. That's not fun.
Yeah. Do you feel like there is a threshold of the amount of money that you're making before they start really looking into it? Or is it random?
Well, it depends. People have different thresholds when it comes to risk, like different risk appetites. Like, I know someone who, has just made his first 3K, and he's like, hey, how do I sort out? Do I have to pay taxes on this? How do I do it? And that's when they'll look into it. Other people who are making 50K a month and are just, they'll catch me when they can, when they find me. I think once you hit your first maybe 5K a month, start looking into it. And that doesn't mean immediately, build a structure set up in Dubai, but just start looking into it. Maybe talk to someone, have a conversation with someone, I don't want to say like me, right, but someone who knows about what they're talking about. And start exploring options. Like, the way you need to think about taxes is, if you're making no money, then no one cares. Like, if you're making $1,000 a month and you've just starting out, focus on making the money first. Like, you can think about taxes later, even if you have to pay some taxes later. Like, your main focus is sales, marketing, product. Like, that's what you need to do, make some money. Once your online income starts to resemble an actual wage, like a salary that people would earn that. People would actually earn that money and live off that money. That's when you actually want to look into it, because those people pay taxes. Like, why shouldn't you? Right? So obviously there's loads of people who don't. I don't condone that. But once you start earning like a normal person who would actually earn money and with a normal job, that's when I'd start looking into it. Okay. It's stuff that you need. It just makes you a better entrepreneur as well. You know how we talk about entrepreneurs as being athletes, nowadays the modern entrepreneur, he's not just good at business, right? He's good socially, right? With friends, he's good with girls. He goes to the gym, he knows how to fight, right? He's ambitious, charismatic, and then obviously he's good with money, and he also knows about taxes, right?
Yeah, of course. Have to know about your taxes, guys. If you want to be 1%, you need to go to Leo. You have to.
Yeah, from what I've heard, like the HMRC, I think they're actually like the best in the world actually investigating into taxes as well. So like people can't really run away from them. I heard they actually like train other countries on how to do it as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I actually had one more thing I was curious about with taxes. So a lot of people getting into stuff like crypto right now, right? What if someone made £1 million in crypto and they lost it all, but that's taxable, that's a taxable event, but they have no money and they've lost everything? What would happen in that scenario? Because I've seen that happen.
That's a great question, and I'm going to give you an answer. I'm not 100% sure about it.
Yeah.
But I'll give it to you anyways, right? So fact check me on this one. You can actually use your losses to offset your gains, right? So if you made $1 million in a gain and you've lost $1 million, that loss can offset the gain.
Okay.
Right? So you're good. If you made it, you've lost it.
Yeah.
In crypto, right? If you spent it, that's a different. Like, that's still
yeah.
taxable. If you've lost it with another trade, that's that's fine. That's all right. I think in the US you can't do that, because I've seen a lot more people get screwed in the US. Like I've seen stories about this happening in the US where they've made loads of money, they've lost it, and they still needed to pay the tax and they don't have the money, and they just ruined their life. So again, I'm not 100% sure about the regulations. I think that's more of a problem in the US than it is in the UK.
Yeah, because if you made £1 million and then you blew it all on cars and I don't know, whatever you want to blow it on, that's down to you. But you spend all of it, then does that just become debt, or will they just sell your assets? Or
Yeah, I mean, like I have a fair amount of friends in the US in crypto.
yeah,
And they can't actually avoid taxes; they have to pay them. So I'm pretty sure there's something called a fat fingering, like back when NFTs were around, where like you buy like an NFT that's like extremely valuable, and then you accept like a WEEF offer that's like really, really low to an anonymous wallet, which is obviously theirs.
yeah.
And obviously that just writes off that massive NFT as a loss.
Okay, that's crazy.
I remember this.
Yeah. Called fat fingering.
That's crazy.
NFT
I didn't know you could do that. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I'd never heard of that. That's interesting.
No, about I just want to go back to the point of HMRC being the best tax office in the world. I'm not sure. I'd never heard of that, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. They're very good at what they do. And one thing I will say, from next year for you watching who are in crypto, HMRC is actually launching an AI software that automatically calculates how much tax you're supposed to be paying. So like they'll go through all your trades and all your wallets and all the exchanges, and they'll automatically calculate the amount of tax that you have to pay. So when you file your return and you tell them how much tax you have to pay, if you do, they'll already have a number to compare it to, so they know more or less how much tax they're expecting.
That's crazy. They'll do anything to get every last penny out of you, won't they? The UK.
One thing that's good about Thailand, of the people who set up in Thailand, I'm pretty sure they pay zero capital gains, don't they?
If they don't remit that income to Thailand, I believe. So they've been, the Thai revenue department, they've been playing around with rules against the taxation of crypto. So like pro crypto, capital gains in, the next 5 years in crypto are not taxed. But I think that law's not still been approved. That's not been approved yet. But generally speaking, if you don't remit your crypto profits into Thailand, that's still not taxable. So like, any capital gains, as long as you don't bring it into Thailand, they're not taxed. And then, there's loads of ways to define, bringing into Thailand. We can go into them if you want. But let's say, yes, if you don't bring it into Thailand, they don't tax your capital gains.
Yeah, for sure. I think the UAE is one of the best places to set up from everything I've looked at. Like, it really is like favourable if you're making a lot of money to live there, don't you think?
100%. And I haven't really lived the UAE properly. I've been there a couple of times, not for long, and before I was in this whole like entrepreneurship space. But the UAE is definitely one of the best places in the world to set up if you're an online entrepreneur. There's no capital gains tax. There's no crypto tax. There's no personal income tax. There's now a 9% corporation tax, right, on companies. But that's it. It's full of entrepreneurs over there. And again, I don't want to speak for anyone else because I haven't really been there yet and lived it yet. But from the outside, it seems like a great place if you're in the online space.
Yeah, I feel like they're just watching all this go down with Europe and how much of a mess it is, and then just licking their lips. Like,
Capitalising on
boys,
it,
come
yeah.
here. We'll look after you.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, when you put it into perspective with the UK and you're hitting those top tax brackets, you're essentially working from January to June for the government, and then July to December for yourself, not including council taxes and transport, food, bills, all of these things. You're basically working from January to October or November for the government, and then
It's crazy,
Yeah.
and it almost works as a trap for these young online entrepreneurs, because you only have to pay tax on what you make in the following year.
yeah,
Right, obviously in the UK the tax year goes from April to April, but let's assume that the tax year is in 2024, like calendar year Jan to December, right?
Yeah.
If you make usually the way it works is you make a little bit of money in 2024,
Yeah.
right? Then 2025 you start to get the ball rolling, and you make your first 10k months, whatever, and then in 2026 you're just balling, right? In 2025 comes the period to file your first tax return, right? But it's for 2024. So while you're making those 10, 20k months, and you're getting the ball rolling,
yeah,
you then file your taxes, and you think that you don't really have to pay a lot of tax. Either you don't file them, or you file them for 2024, which was the year where you didn't really make a lot of money. So for 2025, you pay your taxes for 2024, which wasn't a lot of money.
yeah,
But in 2025, you are making all this money, and you're like, oh, I'm making all this money, and I'm not really paying any taxes. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then it gets to 2026,
They deduct
where
it.
you're paying your taxes for 2025 when you made a lot of money, and you're like, shit, actually, we have to, I've got all these taxes that I have to pay. Like, I've seen this so many times.
yeah. Because what if you spend all that money from the previous year? Is it debt? Like, how does that work?
It becomes debt. Obviously,
Yeah.
if you don't file your taxes, that's just is tax fraud, right?
Yeah.
Tax evasion. I think no one's ever gone to jail for not paying their taxes,
Yeah.
but a lot of people have for not filing them, right? So
Interesting.
what's supposed to happen is you file your taxes, and then obviously if you can't pay them, you have a debt. They'll put you like on a payment plan,
Yeah.
and just they'll call you and say, okay, how do you want to settle this?
Yeah.
Can you pay this amount every single month, right? So
Yeah.
it becomes debt, basically.
So, yourself, Leo, being in other jurisdictions, other places like Thailand, how has that changed your business?
It's been great, and precisely for the environment that you were describing about people, lifting each other up rather than tearing each other down. I remember I came here in August 2024, and I moved to Koh Samui, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing, it's so funny, I was doing all the good habits, right? I was waking up at 5 a.m, reading, meditating, drinking water, training every day, like stretching before bed, like everything. Yeah, every habit, you name it, I was doing it. And I wasn't really making any money at all, But then come January, I decided to join a network, right? I met this guy, and he was having, they were having this retreat in Bangkok, or this dinner in Bangkok, and I was like, I assume this is going to be full of people who are my ideal clients, right? People, from the UK moving to Thailand. Let's just join it. Let's see what happens. Like, I'd been 5 months just not making any progress, just sat as $1,000 a month, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then I went to Bangkok, because I had never been to Bangkok, just flown straight to Samui. I'd never been to Bangkok. Went to Bangkok. I was going to go back to the UK a month afterwards, right? I was like, my visa had expired. I was like, I have to go back. One last month in Bangkok. I came to Bangkok. I met this people, and in the space of like a week's time, I made like 15k or something, which for me was like
Crazy.
Holy shit!
That's awesome.
In a week, right? After making like $1,000 for 6 months, for 6 months in a row, and then you hit the jackpot. And the reason for this, just to loop it back to your question, it's helped me so much, and it was about meeting the people, because I'd got to Bangkok and I wasn't doing those habits anymore. I was going out with some new people that I'd met. Maybe I was even drinking alcohol. I was going to bed maybe at 2 a.m. But next thing you know, you meet 3 people when you go out, and you're doing business with them, and you make money. So it's a big paradox, but it's helped me so much. And this is where I met my first clients. This is where I've made my best connections, definitely. So if you're starting out, I definitely recommend you move to Thailand, like 100%.
Yeah. We were on a phone to a couple of guys and they had said, "Oh, is Leo in the network?" They were like, "Yeah, Leo's everywhere." If you're there, you know, you can always find Leo. That's and to be honest, that's a perfect ICP for you, being in those networks for sure. Network really is your net worth, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And I got reinforced so much for joining a network, because that's what happened. I joined this network. I went to Bangkok. I made a lot of money. I was like, how many other networks can I join?
Yeah.
Right. So then I just started throwing my money, and then about the point of, you know, saving versus investing, just invest it in yourself. Just do it. Right.
Yeah.
I started investing in other networks. I joined Millionaires. I don't know if you know. I joined 1%. Like I was joining all these networks to see, okay, well, you know, let's see if there's cool people I can meet. First off, even from a social aspect, like bear in mind, I was almost isolated in Koh Samui for 6 months. Like my only interactions were with the people at the jiu-jitsu gym. Like that's it. I wasn't hanging out with anyone else. So first off, it was also joining networks for the friendships, right? And then finding people on your same wavelength, like have your same goals and your values. And second off, for business as well, because like if you can do business with these people, that's going to be profitable to you. So yeah, your network is your net worth, 100%.
Yeah, network is your net worth. And they don't mean that literally, like when you shake hands with someone, you're guaranteed to magically make money. But when you shake hands with someone, it opens up doors to opportunities that were never once there, and knowledge and power and things like this. That's why it's so important to network. And how do you feel that networking has changed from being in places like the UK to places like Thailand?
That's a great question as well. I think networking in Thailand is a lot easier, you know, in these countries like Thailand, Indonesia, even Bali. And the reason for that is because it's easier to meet higher level people. You know, you'll find someone super high level, like, you know, millionaires in your regular gym, right? Obviously a high end gym, maybe you have to pay like a couple $100 to go in there. But if you want to walk in the right rooms in Thailand and in Indonesia, in Malaysia, you know, it's easier. So you just go to the gym, go to the local healthy food spot, right? Whereas in the UK, like if you actually want to network with these people, like you're going to have to go to like the super high end event, like you need to get invited. Whereas, you know, here it's a lot easier.
Yeah, certainly. I think in the UK, you're told to be realistic, but being in Thailand or Bali or Dubai, you're shown what's possible. Most people are not exposed to multimillionaires on a daily basis in the UK, but in Thailand or Bali or Dubai, you can meet free at lunch, you know, or free at dinner. And I think that's the difference when it comes to networking. That's
completely true. Like in the UK, especially with us coming from Peterborough, a small town, like who was like the most insane guy people looked at and be like, I wanted to beat him. It was the guy who ran the car wash business, and made $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's like now like $5,000 a month is like minimum wage in our circles. Like,
I mean,
crazy.
That's still a lot of money. £5,000 a month is still a lot of money. But when you come to places like Thailand and you're having lunches with people doing £1 million a month, the mindset shifts, because in the UK it's very like there's not an abundance mindset, whereas you come to a place like Thailand, Bali, Dubai, there's money everywhere, there's wealth, and it's just an abundance mindset then, you know, because it's just showing what's possible. Yeah,
like going to Dubai was just crazy for me, because that's just like levels above the game.
Yeah.
Like a Mercedes G-Wagon, which is like one of my dream cars, is just like a standard car on the road there. Like it doesn't even stand out. There's like so much money there, so much going on, and the people I connected with there, like, wow.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm so good at like finding investments, I'm actually able to like provide value to these like guys in Dubai that are running like multi-million dollar businesses just with my art to actually like find an investment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, that's another key difference like in the UK is that most people have never met someone making £100,000 a month, so they can't see it as being possible. But like I say, it's very normal coming to a place like Thailand, Bali, Dubai to see that. And then it obviously, it's a different belief then. You have a different belief system.
And I love that, because that was exactly me when I came to Bangkok, obviously on a smaller scale, right? Because people, like even watching online, you know, you're watching this video and you're listening to us speak, and you know, you understand and you know that this is possible, right? But if you don't know anyone physically, it's hard to fathom. You're like, you know, I know they're doing this, but you know, maybe thinking maybe it's not true, maybe it's all fake, maybe they're scamming someone, maybe they're bad people. Like once you actually meet someone and you talk to them and you actually touch them. It happened with Lennon for the first time actually back in Bangkok. He was, I think, my first like proper high ticket close, and I remember talking to him, and he was just a normal guy. Like, in fact, he was like younger than me. He's like, I was 19 at the time, just turned 20.
Crazy.
And I was like, hey, he just told me he's made 40 grand this month. And he's just a kid. He's just a normal person. I was like there talking to him, like touching him. I was like, he's a normal person. And then, you know, I sold him on I pitched him my service, and I was like, okay, it's $5 grand. And he just instantly opened his Lloyd's app and bank transferred it. I was like, holy shit. Like, there's something that just clicks, you know, when you actually meet the people and you say, actually, this is possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I like just watching people and just like learning from them. Like, I rate him massively because he is not afraid to like spend money. Like, I got him into crypto when I was living with him in Bali, and he just loads up like $5 grand and just puts it in a coin, even though he's like, he doesn't know too much about crypto, but he just like trust me, he knows my experience, he knows I have like a good eye for a gem, and he just put it in, and then bang, like 50-60k later he's up. He's not afraid to spend money, and that is a trait of someone that's going to be very, very successful. Yeah,
you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah,
like there's no way around that. So actually, Leo, Brandon asked me this in the last podcast, how important, I know we've spoke about it already, but like, why is it important to invest in yourself? And do you believe in courses, coaching, mentorship, things like this?
I do believe in that. I don't know whose quote is this, but you are the only asset that you can never sell. I don't know who said this, but it's a great quote, and it's true, right? You're the only asset that you're never going to sell, so it just makes sense to build it and make it as strong as possible. Like, you are the only asset that you know, cannot be taken away from you. Like, your money can be taken, your house can be taken, your assets can be taken, like your knowledge cannot be taken. So as much as it's hard, like every time you invest in stuff and you're spending money, like it's hard, it hurts. And you know, maybe for you, you're looking at buying your first course and it's like $300 and it feels scary, right? Or maybe it's 3,000 for a mentorship. Like, it's never gonna not feel scary. It's just like new levels of scary, right? For me, maybe now an investment of like 30 grand, I was like, oh, okay, I need to make this. But it's super important. I do believe in mentorships. I do believe in courses, 100%. I think that answers your question.
I think there's a negative mindset towards it because there are a lot of imposters on social media. So I would say definitely err on the side of caution of who you invest your money in or what you invest your money in. But that's why coming out to places like Thailand is important, because we know a ton of coaches, mentors, people who sell courses. And although we can attest to them and their abilities and their background, someone who's at home in the UK and have perhaps seen them on a reel or on a YouTube video can't necessarily attest to that. That's the difficult part.
And this is exactly what I was saying about once you actually meet a person and you touch them and you speak to them, it just becomes so reassuring. You're like, wow, this person is normal. Like, he's not scamming me. Like, I know people back home, like the people I used to go to high school with. Like, I remember I wished happy birthday to this guy, right? To this old friend of mine, and he was like, and I was like, hi, how are you? And he was like, oh, I'm good. What are you doing? Are you still a guru? And I was like, I just didn't reply to that message, but I just thought, like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, I do this, and you know, to an extent, I'm not even doing coaching or info, right? I'm just storing. I just have a normal job online. I'm like, how can you even think about that? And it's just so clear that his mindset is so like restricted and closed to the point where he's like, this guy must be scamming other people.
That's why
I feel like probably like a main reason why a lot of people think it's a scam is because, I'm not gonna like drop names because I'm probably gonna meet these people one day, but like the top guys in the info space with like hundreds of thousands of followers, obviously they have like so many clients, so their fulfillment is not going to be really like spot on. But like, I know people in the 1% that have like 10k or under followers, and their fulfillment is top tier because they're really hands-on with it. But like, a lot of these people are buying into these big mentorships with these guys there in Dubai, and they've got like 250k followers. They've got so many clients. Of course they're not going to be hands-on with it. They're just going to be outsourcing everything.
They're buying into social proof. But if there's like one thing I could leave with, this podcast with is to put the viewer's perspective. If you're in a place like the UK, in a tiny village or a tiny city, and you become the richest or the smartest in the room, who are you going to learn from at that point? Like, there is no one to learn from. If you want to make £100,000 a month, but you know no one who makes £100,000 a month, then who are you to learn from? You know, that's what I would ask. And definitely coming out to a place like Thailand, it's abundant, the people that you meet and the knowledge that you gain and the network that you build. It's abundant in a place like Thailand, Bali, Dubai, and the general quality of life is so much better. So I would say anyone who is watching this, consider it at least and do some research into it, because it's life-changing.
It's the easiest way to change your life. I'll leave you with a quote. Change your environment to change your behavior. That's from Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to do it. Like if you want to change your behavior, like how you act, like the money you make, the progress that you make in the gym, the food that you eat, just change your environment, move, like go somewhere else. It's the best thing that's ever going to happen to you.
Yeah, and I touched on this on Instagram as well. Like, you become what you consume and who you surround yourself with. If you are consuming bad foods, you're consuming illicit substances, you're consuming alcohol constantly, then you are not going to become this like high level entrepreneur that you want to become. Like, and I was in this position before as well. And if you surround yourself with people who are constantly taking illicit substances, drinking, partying, all these things, then you are going to become that person as well. And this has happened to me like before. So certainly change your environment, change your behavior, for sure. It's a great quote.
Any concluding remarks?
Yeah, I mean, like, I like to live by the 80-20 rule. It's a lot of thing. It's one of the main things I like drum into our members. I helped like a lot of people out with that in Bali, because 80% of the time, we should be doing the thing that's like drummed into entrepreneurs, like going to the gym, obviously like do your work, your content, actually the things that make you money. You have to do them 80% of the time, but you have to give yourself like 20% chance of luck. And the luck comes with actually going out and meeting like people, like actually socializing. It's so important to socialize. I would not be here if I didn't socialize.
Yeah, of course.
If I didn't like go to all these like blockchain events around the world, I would not be here. So you have to give yourself the chance of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's about manufacturing your own luck. So people normally, they try to get lucky by playing the lottery or playing some kind of gambling site, but you can manufacture your own luck in a way of getting out there, networking, finding opportunity, meeting people with knowledge that you don't have access to. And things will eventually fall in place if you have enough determination and grit. Things are going to fall in place. Opportunities will open, doors will open for you. And that's about manufacturing your own luck, like you say, Brandon. That's it.
Yeah, the 1% wouldn't even be here if we didn't socialise, if we didn't go out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole premise of the 1% is socialising.
Yeah, the whole idea actually came from socialising.
Yeah.
So actually it's like getting that chance of luck.
Yeah.
That can completely change your life.
Yeah, for the first 6 months that me and Brandon were in Thailand, we had no network. It was quite lonely, actually. Like, neither of us, we had no friends other than ourselves. And that's why we started the 1%. Like, we saw, obviously, there were a couple other networks and they had moved away, done their own thing, and saw an opportunity here. And yeah, thought it was a good time to take it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What's the time? 57 minutes.
Yeah, almost there. But yeah, Leo, thank you for coming on, man. It's been a great conversation. I know you've given your closing remarks so far, but was there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we close this off?
No, not really. Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed that.
Do some last minute clip farming.
Yeah, clip farm. I've been trying to clip farm on throughout this. It's hard, like, trying to do that, but yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. And Leo is our first guest on the 1% podcast. So when we have millions of subscribers, Leo will always be there as the first ever guest. So
we'll transform the video into an NFT and sell it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll split the profits. We'll fat finger.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been
fat finger to avoid some tax.
Yeah. Oh no, don't say that to Leo. But yeah, it's been great. It's been fun. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to drop Leo a follow. We'll put his Instagram on here as well. And yeah, go to him for all your tax related things. Don't avoid and evade tax. You will go to jail. And that's it from us.
Yeah. All good, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back in a few weeks.
Perfect. See you. Cheers.